Hello everybody, this is Ivana, and in this presentation we'll be talking about Intertidal Biome. I chose this biome because I found it really interesting and the marine biome is very extensive. So let's start. So on the first two slides, we will be talking about the marine biome to understand a little bit more of what my topic is. So the marine biome is the biggest biome in the world. It covers 75% of Earth's surface. This includes 5 main oceans: the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian, the Arctic, and Southern, as well as many smaller gulfs and bays. Marine regions are usually very salty. This area is too deep for lots of light to reach. So, this includes, as I said, the ocean, coral reefs, and estuaries. As we can see, the marine biome is really huge and extensive. So, what are the 4 major marine biomes? Like ponds and lakes, the ocean regions are separated into separate zones: intertidal, pelagic, abyssal, and benthic. All 4 zones have a great diversity of species, but are very different. We are not going to talk about the whole marine biome because it's really extensive and maybe we could never end. So, what is the intertidal zone? The intertidal zone is the area where the ocean meets the land between high and low tides. The intertidal zone is an extreme ecosystem because it constantly experiences drastic changes. It exists anywhere the ocean meets the land, from steep, rocky ledges to long, sloppy sand beaches and mudflats that can extend for hundreds of meters. There are 4 physical divisions, each with distinct characteristics and ecological differences. Sadly, nowadays the ocean, lakes, ponds, beaches, etc. have been modifying in bad terms. Because of pollution and climate change, this causes species to die and also the water changes colors. And because of that, we can see that the water isn't healthy as it used to be. So we really have to make a change as soon as possible, or species could be extinct in a few years. On this slide, I'm going to talk about the physical intertidal division and some characteristics. It's divided by 4 zones, and the first one is spray zone, that it's well known as being humid by the ocean spray and high waves. It's submerged only during very high tides and severe storms. The second layer is called high intertidal zone. It's the area above the water level at low tide and underwater at high tide. This area can include several types of habitats with various species of life. The middle intertidal zone can accommodate more life than the upper intertidal zone due to its length of time that it is submerged in water. The organisms worry less about desiccation. The organisms in this zone vary, but it's greater quantity. Now for the last layer. This one is called low intertidal zone. Well, this zone is underwater except during the lowest spring tides. Life is more abundant there because of the protection provided by the water, so we might see more species in this intertidal zone. We might think that intertidal zone can be really extreme, but it's a home to many living things, and it's also important for a feeding spot for both resident and migrating birds. This ecosystem also provides protection to us against erosions and keeps storms waves from reaching buildings along the shore. Now we can talk about the species in the zone. So the list of the species is actually really huge that maybe we could never stop counting. Some of these are sea stars, snails, seaweed, algae, crabs, clams, sea cucumbers, octopuses, kelps, barnacles, and mussels. So, barnacles and mussels can hold seawater in their closed shells to keep themselves from dying out during the low tide. That's how some of them can survive some different zones, but they are divided by their own zone. With this information, we can see that there's a lot of species, and this creates a food web. In this food web, we can see producers, consumers, and predators. These predators could be fishes, birds, lobsters, and for consumers, we can see prawn, crab, and whelk. For producers, we can see phytoplanktons and seaweed. So this creates a really extensive food web. How can creatures survive this biome? Sea creatures arrange themselves vertically in the intertidal zone depending on their abilities to compete for space, avoid some predators from above and below, and resist drying out. Residents of the higher intertidal zone can either close themselves up in their own shells to remain moist and ward off predators, or are mobile enough to retreat to a submerged zone when the tide goes out. In the lower parts of the intertidal zone, many plants and animals attach themselves in place or rocks. They are very flexible or otherwise well suited to stand up to wave energy.